Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Rod. Thanks for joining us this week for your window and door industry updates. If this is the first time joining us, this show has three parts. We start with industry quick hits, where we examine some of the most important window and door news stories from the past week.
Then we go into our focus story where we further break down a really important story that you need to know this week. And then finally, we finish with the section we like to call growing your business. And we like to consider this the most important part because this is where we dive into practical tips and tricks that you can use to scale your window and door business so it grows stronger than ever before. So, with that said, we can't wait to get started. Let's jump into our first story.
All right, the first story is that the registration for the 2023 FGIA annual conference is now open. It is the Fenestration and Glazing Industry Alliance's annual conference, and it's just opened up, so you're going to want to reserve a seat. The event will take place in person in Coronado, California, at the Lowe's Coronado Bay Resort from February 13th through the 16th.
In January 2020, there was a collaboration that happened, like a shortening of the industry. The Insulating Glass Manufacturers Alliance and the American Architectural Manufacturers Association, they united to form a single body into what's known as the FGIA, and that's short for the Fenestration and Glazing Industry Alliance. So this upcoming event is open to FGIA members and non-members alike. So if you're not in yet, this might be a good time to join. So this conference is going to include a variety of hands-on roundtable activities and discussions. It'll have streaming events, local experiences, and the most important part, there's going to be several networking opportunities for you to be able to meet with your peers and get to know different market segments within this very large industry. So FGIA is offering a virtual attendance option, and there's going to be a lot catering towards online activities too. So if you can't travel to Coronado, still consider this as a great networking and growth option. We have a link to the registration in the show notes. Go on there and check it out, and maybe we'll see you there.
Awesome. So, story number two is that Apple is being sued for having an unprotected glass storefront.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but back in the news back in November 2022, a car crashed at the Apple store in Hingham, Massachusetts. It caused one death and several injuries. The victims of the car crash are now filing a lawsuit against Apple. They're also suing the manager, the owner, even the developer of the store, stating the incident could have been avoided. A personal injury, Doug Sheff, attorney, who's representing several of the victims, believes that Apple's all-glass storefront isn't designed to prevent motor vehicle tragedies. Sounds like another lawsuit that I remember from Hot Coffee at McDonald's that you mentioned earlier. That I thought that was,
It's one of those things. If it's not stated, then it's open for lawsuit.
Yep.
So this is why we're covering this, because this is an opportunity for you to be able to really talk to commercial vendors about this gap that could open them up to a lawsuit. So going deeper into the story, it gets even more interesting. There was an interview with the local TV station where that personal attorney who was representing the victims said that Apple should have had cement barriers installed at the storefront, and that could have prevented that serious injury or death. And on top of that, the Storefront Safety Council reported that this has happened over 800 times where cars have crashed into buildings, and that is just in Massachusetts, over 800 accidents between 2013 and 2022.
Wow.
So there's going to be, we think, an opportunity here for window and glass installers to be able to provide solutions to commercial companies to avoid this potential litigation.
Businesses typically use tempered glass or laminated safety glass for their storefronts, while Apple and several other modern businesses seek to design their stores with innovation in mind. It's also important to understand the risk of working with these types of projects. Window and door contracts that are design heavy should also have double checked for potential safety risks, as well as in terms of the developer and the window and door contractors, because they could end up being liable in case of an accident.
Got to protect yourself in today's
Absolutely.
landscape. Story number 3. Today's workers are now expecting their starting wages to begin at $73,000 per year. Yes, you read that right and heard that right. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we know that there's been widespread labor shortages. This has affected the construction industry, and it's certainly affected the window and door industry as well. So, in particular, we know that this has hurt installation crews across the country, and wages going up and the demand for higher wages are really what's driving this shortage. It's a major part. So, according to data that was released by the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, the lowest pay that the average worker is willing to accept for a new job right now is $73,667. This is as of November 2022. So that's the highest expected starting wage ever reported by this organization since they started tracking this data back in 2014. Wow.
Yeah, that's November's report from the SEC shows respondents under 45 were much more likely to expect a higher wage when starting at a new company, much more than older workers. And the continued upward trend is most likely driven by an increase in salaries over time. However, it also shows that workers are becoming increasingly more satisfied with non-wage benefits of their jobs. Since the pandemic took off in March 2020, wage demands have increased 19.4% in November 2022. Plus, employees without a college degree saw an even higher increase in expected earnings. Their average reservation wage increased 27%.
So, as we said, just to bring it back, there's a lot of tradespeople in the window and door industry, and this includes installers, who fall into that 27% gap because several people are opting for alternative education and they want to get into the trades, but the money demand is coming with it. And so this likely means that you're going to have to really rethink how much you're willing to spend for this installation help, for these support jobs. And just keep in mind, non-monetary benefits are still important, but it comes down to what you're bringing home in your paycheck more and more. So it's crucial for you to find ways to be able to meet that demand and also find just creative ways to be able to offer unique benefits that are going to attract today's employees, and just how to figure out how to get to that reasonable wage starting point, because we can complain and we can get upset all we want about this reality, but this is the reality. So we need to meet it where it's at. That's what I say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's all for this week's Roundups, folks. So we've completed what you need to know for this week. Now we're going to jump into our focus story, where you really get to dive into an important topic that we want you to be able to take home and be able to change your business in a meaningful way. So, Rod, what do we have for people this week?
Absolutely. So single-family home production is down 32% since February. Yeah. So single-family home housing construction starts have continued to fall as we enter the new year. Since February 2022, overall construction is down 32%, as I mentioned. And according to the National Association of Home Builders, this number falls in line with mortgage rates as they began rising back steadily at the beginning of 2021. So beyond mortgage rate rises, the housing market continues to struggle due to inflation, high construction costs, and weakened demand. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, in a report, they said the overall housing construction starts decreased 0.5 in November, 0.5%. If development continues at the same pace for the next year, there will be nearly 1.43 million construction starts between now and December 2023, while overall housing is down 0.5%. Single-family construction starts were down 4.1% in November, and this works out to 828,000 starts annually.
So if we compare that to 2021, we know that single-family starts are down 9.4% overall this year, and it's been a rough ride for window and door professionals, especially when it comes to single-family home upgrades. So the road is tough. We understand that, and it looks like it's going to be tough through at least the first half of this year. But that presents an opportunity for you to think about how you can pivot your business away from single-family homes as your primary revenue driver. So even though we know that single-family homes have been negatively impacted, we're seeing an uptick in multifamily home starts. So that includes apartment buildings, that includes condos. Those are increasing by 4.9%. So that's about 599,000 new constructions or upgrades this year. So if you're a window and door installer, you might want to consider branching out and hunting down those contracts that could be available for multi-family dwellings. So try and think about how you can grow in that sector this year, because that's where the growth is going to be. Let's go ahead and move into our weekly tip, where we're going to help you figure out how to grow your window and door company faster, smarter, and stronger.
Absolutely. So, does this statement ever run through your head? I get lots of leads, but most don't turn into sales. Don't worry, you're not alone. Study after study have shown a gap between getting someone's attention and getting them to actually commit to buying. In a 2022 study shows just 3% of the people who visit your website review your online business profile and are actually ready to buy.
Wow.
So what can you do? You have to look at your customer's journey closely. Do you have a system in place to nurture the leads to ensure that they get the right attention?
So the good news is, Rod, is that we can help you be able to really map this out more effectively, and trying to figure out if you have a customer journey that goes beyond just that initial, hey, you exist. So you can start by thinking about making a few simple changes. A big part is making sure that your sales team understands and relates to the problems that homeowners are experiencing now, today. If you can better understand today's buyer, you'll have a stronger chance of being able to nurture the relationship and convert that lead. And we've got you covered for that, because we've assembled a guide that can help you be able to give your sales team insights into the biggest problems that homeowners face now in 2023. And all it will take for work on your part is to send them this email with the guide. So we made sure to include in this free download, we have hard data from top survey firms. We have industry experts giving you insights that are going to help you be able to close more deals and help you just really get into the head of today's buyer.
And homeowners are looking for solutions, and you're just the company to provide them. Get this downloadable guide free by clicking on the link in our show notes.
We hope you take advantage of that. We made it just for you. Rod, before we close, I'd like to mention to our listeners, I'm really excited. We just launched a monthly email newsletter just for window and door installers.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be filled with information that you're going to find useful for your business, for your everyday operations, but as well as important information that you can use to grow.
That's right. So all you have to do is click on the link in the show notes. You're going to get something every week that's going to give you value in being able to grow your window and door business faster, smarter, and stronger. That's all for this week of our window and door industry news. Please make sure to check back next week. We can't wait to see you and help you be able to grow and scale your business effectively.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.